Welcome to the Following the Joy podcast with me, Debbie Westwell, confidence and mindset coach and massive travel enthusiast. This podcast is a place to talk about being the best version of yourself, following your heart, making those scary changes and having fun on this adventure that we call life. I'm your biggest cheerleader and I want you to know that it is never too late to start over and make a life you are excited to get out of bed for. So let's go and get following the joy. In this episode, I am chatting to Nicky from Nicky Allen Photography. She is a portrait and personal branding photographer, and we chat all about kind of her pathway from despite being told she can't, being an actor, through to running a theatre company for children, and then finding her passion again in the creativity of photography. She gives us some amazing tips of how you and I can also have our best shots possible, why personal branding is super important, but also we have a laugh and we talk about kitchen discos, and she shares about a crisis of confidence. So she's kind of like an everyday woman that everybody can relate to, but she's just gorgeous and she does so much, and she's just following her joy with her creativity. And she's even been going to be published in a book from a Chelsea flower show. So we're discussing mushrooms. Keep listening. It's all about everything this episode. Hi Nicky, welcome to the Following the Joy podcast. Thank you ever so much for agreeing to come in and chat to me today, and welcome. I'm so excited to have you here.
Me too. I'm really excited.
Alrighty, so for everybody listening, I'm just going to let you introduce yourself, if that's all right, Nicky. Tell us who you are and what your life's been like.
Okay. So I'm Nicky and I'm a portrait photographer, and I specialise in helping people feel calm and relaxed and intentional in their photo shoots, which basically means you can show up then as the best version of yourself. And before photography, I used to be an actor. So I have a lot of experience in how to, everything from how to mitigate your nerves, use mindset, and find yourself in a way that you can show up, whether you're scared, showing up, whether you're not feeling great. And actually, all of those techniques I teach you so that you're in a position to be kind of in the present moment, which actually is the key to really good resonant photography.
Oh, amazing. All right. Okay. So much to unpack there. So let's go back to, you used to be an actor. Was that something that you had a dream as a child, and that's what you always you just went down that line and that's how you got there? Or was it?
Yeah, it's something I kind of stumbled into in teenage years, actually, when, in that funny kind of place where there's so much change and so much going on. And actually I found that the drama classes that I did at school was the one area where I just kind of blossomed and I became, alive, and it was completely different. And I think, I've even got the old reports. I've always consistently was told, should contribute more, should put your hands up more, not so confident. But when it was drama, I was absolutely fine. And it all came out. And I think that's partly just being able to, explore creativity and my imagination, which has always been really fertile, but also just that permission, to be somebody else or to try something else. And it felt, I guess, less pressure in a way. So it just felt good. And I was encouraged, and I was always kind of told that I was really good, and that helped, obviously. So I did plays. And then I had this funny period at A-level where I was kind of choosing what to do. And I always had loved photography. But I had to make a choice basically between acting and photography, and I followed the acting. But I was given some slightly the careers advisor at the college was trying, I think, her best to make me realistic about my likelihood of success. But it kind of came across as, you're never going to get funded. You're never going to get the money to go to drama school, because at that time, which is a while ago, it was a very expensive thing to do. So I didn't even try, I didn't even really listen to what it is I wanted to do. I just kind of went, oh, well, that won't work then, and just kind of assumed. So then I did a degree and went the kind of academic route, and then came back to drama school afterwards, and got lots of encouragement to try. And then I got into LAMDA, which is a really good drama school. So I did the degree first, then drama school, then worked professionally for years. And it was amazing all the time it was working. And it was a funny period because obviously you have to do a lot of work on yourself as an actor. You've got to keep that momentum going. You've got to keep feeling really positive. You've got to keep showing up. And it was fine. And I learned a lot. But then there was just this period where it just started to feel less like something I was keen to put myself through.
Yeah.
And I suddenly got pregnant, and it was a brilliant timing for me to just step away, reevaluate, and then I didn't really want to go back, basically. So long story short, that was my acting background. And as I say, when it worked well, and I've worked successfully for years, it was great, but it's, the highs are high and the lows are low. And actually with being a mother, it all just kind of felt very different. So I had another kind of burning desire to be creative. And with a friend of mine, we set up a theatre company and created theatre for primary school age children. And we did promenade theatre, so it was moving around. So they would go on the journey with us. And she was a primary school teacher. I had the acting background. And it was incredible. We worked for a few years doing that. And in that, I started doing more photography. And I realised actually that's a sweet spot for me. And that was where I was lighting up, coupled with, the cliche of taking pictures of your own children. Actually, you want to be able to do that well, and actually,
definitely
that took over really. So I focused on the photography, started doing family shoots, which I still offer. I absolutely adore family shoots, but in a really kind of relaxed way. I'm looking for the details and the candid moments, as you do
not the
road.
Forced pose, like hi,
exactly.
Everything's fine.
We've all got the same colour t-shirt and the same colour jeans on, that there was a place for that, I think, but it's not my style. So then I did photography, and that's what I do now.
I love that journey, because it kind of feels like divine timing in a way. Do you know what I mean? And also you managed to kind of naturally fall into the things that you loved in the first place. But obviously it probably didn't feel like divine timing at the time, because if you were going to auditions, you were an actor, and you were obviously being turned down a lot. You were getting things. Is it right for you? Is it not? There's lots of questions. That the jobs aren't secure all the time. You don't have a stable income coming in. So I guess at the time you were like, oh, is this for me? Is it not? And then obviously you got pregnant. So divine timing there that kind of brought you out of that. I just want to go back a bit though, right? I have a little bit of a bugbear about schools and colleges and careers advisors, because interestingly, I was talking to a friend last night, and we were talking about the same things, about what's driving us. And she writes books for a living. And I was saying, okay, what drives that? And she said, my English teacher at school told me that I would never make anything of myself, and I would never be good at writing. And so she's like, I've almost had to go and prove myself. And she's written like 60 odd books, And I said to her, you need to dedicate one of these books to your English teacher, and just be like, here's the big middle finger to you, because teachers are wonderful. Schools are wonderful, and they're definitely there for purposes. But I'm getting on a bit of a soapbox now, Nikki. I'm so sorry, but I just feel like it's, we're telling kids nowadays that you've got to fit into a box, you've got to fit into the mold. You can't follow your dreams, and like you mentioned before, for you it was about that kind of release of creativity. And I feel like we sometimes put too much pressure. I mean, I don't have children, but I see it all the time with my friends who do have children. We put pressure on children to do the SATs, do their exams, hit the marks, when do they get time to just be them and learn and grow? And that's awesome for you, because you became an actor, so you naturally have that. But it's like, how do we encourage children and adults to be that creative person and enjoy that kind of inner child fun freedom stuff without being told? And careers advisors that just go, signpost you to university, that's it, you'll never be able to do it, signpost you to university.
No, I know, I completely agree. And actually my daughter's doing SATs at the moment, and it's really interesting, because it's something that the school has to do, but the whole approach to everything has changed. The whole timetable's changed. It's just literally revision, and I can see the joy kind of seeping out of her. She's still going to school, and actually they just don't have the time to devote to the kind of more fun activities that actually the children really, really need. And it it breaks my heart as well. Like, actually, you know, if you haven't found something, you haven't got that thing that you can do outside of school yet, and it is a yet because these things develop.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, these kids they're not being served well at the moment. There's so much pressure on them. And it's funny because even though I had that experience as an actor, I then had a massive few years of my life where I did have a bit of a wobble, and said, where is my joy coming from then? And actually having to really retrain my brain. And it's something that I'm really passionate about, kind of helping with my children to kind of go, well, you have to try and look for the joy. And it might not be something big and exciting all the time, but there is something in every day if you look hard enough. But it's having to change how you feel about everything, really. And that's something I did. And I think maybe it was COVID time, but it wasn't directly related to that. But I just found myself in this place of kind of questioning, you know, I was 40 as well. That doesn't help. But, you know, just going, oh, is that it then? Is this where I am? And, you know, I had to do so much work on myself. And the tiniest change each day has actually mounted up to be a significant change for me. But I kind of became aware that actually we are the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves. And I'm telling myself a story of, this is hard, or why isn't this happening, or I'm always tired, and all these other things that were actually really, really, really negative. And I've just had to unpick it all. And actually starting with journaling really, really helps, just to kind of get it out. And that's what I say to my daughter, who's now started doing it as well. Just even if it's a few things a day, or you could reflect back on the day, you will find there was maybe a moment of joy, because your brain wants to tell you that day was so crap, but actually maybe it wasn't, you know. And trying to get her and my son, although he's a bit younger, just to try and mine that, because there will be something in there. But that's a skill, again, that's a skill that's not taught, because, you know, I think we place so much emphasis on physical activity and exercise, but not the mental exercise, the brain health. And particularly for kids at school, you know, these days, a lot of those fun, creative subjects aren't really there in the same way. I know at my kids' school, there's certainly no drama. There used to be. In fact, I used to go into primary schools and help facilitate when I was an actor. It was one of my favourite sort of side jobs, actually. And you get to kind of work with the kids, and you'd find the kids who are not engaged academically, they're the ones that really often got it, and, you know, really, you know, had that chance to be expressive.
And it's like that creative outlet for emotions as well. You know, you don't know what that child's going through at home, or, you know, and to give them some form of outlet, of expression, as opposed to it kind of feels like everything's results driven at the moment. So instead of just being, it's like a results driven, like you must achieve this, you must do this, as opposed to just go out and have fun. And I love what you're saying about kind of like finding fun every day. And it's interesting, isn't it? And like, you know, if you were hitting 40 and then like kind of looking at yourself, I feel like a lot of people listening will be the same. Like, you kind of get to your like late 30s into your 40s, we've probably got a little bit more time, a little bit more money, you know. Some people have got children, some people don't, but then it's when we start reflecting on ourselves and being like, hang on, we've been told this is a way all of the time, this is the certain way, this is the way, this is the being. And it's like, actually, we start questioning that and go, oh no, there is something else, and I can look into this or whatever. And I've got to say, I went for a skip the other day, you know, like a proper old fashioned, like not like with a rope, just like I went for a walk and I saw this path and I just thought, and I like literally skipped down this path, and I was giggling like a child, and I thought, oh my goodness, I definitely need to do this a little bit more. And I don't know if anybody saw me. I don't really care if anybody saw me, to be fair.
Do you know what? I completely relate to that. Like, I run quite often. Well, do you know what? I'm not going to call it a run. I jog. I move basically. And where I'm on the river, so there's massive puddles. And the other day I was like, I could go around the puddle, I could go through the puddle, or I could do like a split jump, which I'm not a dancer, but I used to do it years and years ago. And that was a similar kind of thing. And it was like, that's just so much fun. But, you know, I probably look like a plonker, but regardless, it is, you know, often they say as well, tapping into that stuff that you felt joy as a child, isn't it? And I think it's just giving yourself permission to do that. That's the hardest thing, isn't it? Because we're always seeking the validation, the answers. We're always looking outside. And I think what I realized was actually that doesn't work. You know, you have to start with what's inside, and all the kind of fridge magnet cliches are really true, but actually you've got to go in, and then you realize, and you know, that the joy is there to be had underneath all the layers of crap. But actually it does just take a bit of self-awareness, and like I said, the journaling for me is the gateway to that, you know.
Yeah. Now, do you like journal like emotions and feelings, or do you just journal like good bits? Because I've got to say, I struggle to journal like everything down, but I do and have been doing for the last year or so a gratitude journal first thing in the morning, which literally sets me up on like a high energy level. And then before I go to bed, I think, oh, these are all the good things that happened today.
Yeah, it's so powerful, isn't it? I to be honest, I did the Artist Way course by Julia Cameron. Well, I say I did it. It's a 12-week course. It takes a lot of commitment, and I did 11 weeks, and then it was COVID, and I was, but it got me in the practice of free writing. So I'll do 3 pages in the morning, and it's more of a brain dump, so it just gets everything out there. But what I found over time is the first part is just, I mean, God forbid anyone reads it. It's dull as anything. It's, you know, to-do list and got to do that. It's not inspired. It's not going to win a prize. But then by the end, sort of second or third page, answer it when you write. You know, you're just getting it out. But then I kind of go, well, actually, there's things in there that are really useful. So I then look back, and then I highlight the things, and they often then turn into my to-do list for the week or the day. So it starts as just free writing, but it ends up being really useful as to the things that are, you know, playing on my mind, or ideas or projects, things like that. So
I like that. That's such a good
really
idea.
valuable.
Yeah, so if you're listening, there you go. That's one of the things that you can do. Just write down everything that's in your brain. Just had a pen and paper. And also, I guess if anything negative's coming out of your brain, don't feel afraid to like rip it up, burn it, get rid of it. You know, like that's kind of like a physical way of getting rid of it as well. So
I think the other thing about that had a big effect when I was having to kind of struggling with confidence is to do with moving, though, and that kind of moving the energy around as well. So whether it is, you know, like ripping stuff up, you know, that can feel really cathartic, or just like having a kitchen disco, like best song, and dancing it off.
I love a kitchen disco.
It's so good, isn't it? Because actually, you know, if I sit down and go, right, well, I'm going to do a yoga practice that does this and then that, and sometimes I just find that I've already blocked it. Like, no, I haven't got time. Whack on a good tune, dance it off. You know, the power of music, I think, is often underestimated, or we just maybe get used to putting the radio on, or a playlist that's decided for us. And actually, when I work with my clients, it's one of the things I touch on, because I think so much work can be done in preparation for things, whether we feel really confident about them or not. You know, we can do lots of work. And one of mine is, I send over information and guides of journaling prompts and things and videos. But I do have a playlist that I share, and I invite them to, or just create their own playlist. And actually, it can really help kind of you visualize, you know, you being your best self, or particularly if a song resonates with you. I think it's really powerful to use that.
Oh, I love that. And we'll come back to that in a minute, because I'm actually thinking you could combine the two about finding what you had fun as a child. Put your childhood music on that you danced to at your discos and parties that you went to, and use that as a kitchen disco. But okay, right. So your photography then sounds like it's not just pure photography, is it? It's obviously a whole package of encompassing, like you're helping them with the thoughts, their emotions, the feelings. You're kind of putting them to the right frame of mind for that photography. So you do family, and obviously we've mentioned that it's not like static photographs, it's more natural, but you do like business branding and stuff as well, do you?
That's right. Yeah. And that's kind of my main offering these days, is personal branding. So I really enjoy working with people who are kind of small business or creatives, coaches, and like you say, it's not just the photo, it's the process, but no obligation for you to do it. If you're like, oh no, that's too much work, fine. You know, if you're already super confident with the camera, that's all good for me. But what I really love to do is just help. So start in the process of looking at where my clients are in terms of their branding. Most of them will have done some work on it, but I find it useful for me to really revisit, because if I understand your branding and your why you're doing it and everything, or your values, that helps me to then help you, if that makes sense, become more intentional. Because in a photo shoot, if we strip away all the story and all the other stuff and we just focus on that moment, and I think this is the key to good photography, is we just have the present moment and we can kind of be in that. So that's to do with, you know, you being really intentional, and it's to do with feeling relaxed. So music will be a part of it. But it's also thinking about you specifically, because why do we need branding photography that looks like somebody else? You know, it needs to be authentic to you. And so I really help you unpick what that might look like for you. You know, if you're a brand who, I don't know, say you are a coach or a fitness coach, but you really, really love a Sunday walk in the woods, and it hasn't directly got fitness related to it, but then I would suggest, well, why don't we go there and do your shoot, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just finding a way to make it specific to you, really. And I share the tips and techniques that have helped me show up as the best version of me. So
I love that. I love that. I feel like my branding should have some form of like Harry Potter wizardry in it.
Ooh, yeah, alchemy. I can picture you on the beach though, because you've got sandy beach, haven't you?
Yeah, I love beaches. I love beaches. I love the ocean. I cannot tell you, my phone is literally full of recordings of like the ocean, basically. I literally go down to the water's edge and I put my camera as low as I possibly can, and I just record the waves going in and out, because it's just that pure like nature's noise to me. And I love going for a walk in the forest as well. I have a thing about hugging trees. So
well, there's two really good locations for you then, if you ever do need a branding shoot. That's sorted.
Well, that's it as well. And I've heard also, like, if you've got like social media pages or whatever, you should like do the things that you love, because you'll end up having that real kind of like theme that goes through naturally of that, you know, say the two colors that you like all the time, or like you said, like a lot of my pictures are me hugging a tree or down at the beach or something like that. And so it kind of becomes that underlying theme, as well as, you know, what I do to help people as well, if that makes sense. So,
and I think that's exactly what will resonate with people, because then they'll be looking at it and they'll actually understand something more about you. Because I mean, it's a minefield, isn't it, with photographers, because there are a lot of really talented people out there, and a lot of personal branding photographers are incredible and they're really talented, but there's a lot of generic imagery coming out, and it doesn't excite me. Like, unless I work with a client and they say, no, I really do need that shot of me with a latte, you know, fine, of course I would do it. But I'd really encourage my clients to just dig into actually something a bit deeper in terms of what is specific to them, because then that's going to resonate with, and that's going to be the difference between someone picking you or somebody else, isn't it? You know,
because you're in your element and you look comfortable, and
and I'll capture that essence, and you know, you do really radiate when you're in that zone of genius as well. So I tend to just chat with my clients, so it doesn't seem like they're being directed, but we're in my line of questioning, we're getting really specific and intentional, and that shines through.
So, okay, have you got any good tips for how you should stand or anything? Like, anybody who's listening who's like about to have some pictures taken, maybe by a friend, maybe they're going to get married, like, have you got any really just quick tips that would help?
Well, I guess the first thing is, lots of people instinctively know that they've got a side that they would prefer, and that's fine. Like, go with that, that's absolutely fine. But if you really, really don't like having your picture taken, which I'd say 90% of my clients do say to me, is you could consider not even looking at the camera at all. And this is one of the things that I would like to encourage people to do, is to move away from thinking it has to be this certain way. It doesn't. It's your photo. Do it exactly how you want. But I would say the main thing for a flattering photo is to start with the light and work out where the light is, and natural light, even if it's a grey day, which by the way actually is way more flattering anyway. Just look at where you are. Everyone goes, oh no, it's a bit cloudy. Every photographer's going, because it's really even. It's so flattering. So if you're having photos taken on a sunny day, find the shade. because otherwise, you know, there's more chance of squinting.
Mm.
So yeah, definitely find a shade, think about the angles that you're at, and actually I would encourage people to have a conversation and then try and take pictures within that. I know it sounds crazy, but like having a natural interaction that's captured is going to be way nicer than, because everyone braces a little bit, don't they, when they have to look directly at the camera. Even the most confident people, like when I bring the camera up, that it's vulnerable. That's
and you're also thinking like, hold my stomach in, like, have I got a double chin, like, is this like, what does my roots look like, is my hair messy, like, is my mascara like, there's like a thousand thoughts that go through your mind, isn't there, when you're like, must keep my gap on my arm, and do I have my hand like my fingers splayed or my fingers together, and should it be natural?
Hands are hard. People, what do I do with my hands? It happens a lot. You're like, just move the hands.
The most awkward piece of your body in a picture, a hand.
But you know what, and it's really normal, and I'm exactly the same, but it's because we're thinking about us. And if we can just switch the thought to think about, why am I taking this photo, or what would I like to do with this photo, or how could this help somebody, you know, particularly if it's in terms of business, and then we're putting the focus on our intention. We're not thinking so much about how we look. That can kind of also help with the confidence. Yes, that's what I try to do in the shoots anyway.
I love that, and some of that is absolute like genius, but it's really simple. Like, I genuinely didn't know that a grey day is better than standing in the shade. I just would have thought, you know, get the sunlight. The sunlight's good because it, you know, it gives you that like bright kind of light and colour and stuff. So, brilliant, Nicky. And also, you're awesome.
The last one would be also your time of day. So first thing in the morning, the light is beautiful, even in winter. Oh, not too early, and then it's dark, because that's
it's pitch black. It's beautiful.
I mean, once the sun's risen, but also towards the end of the day, because it's just softer. So I would always avoid having photos done in the middle of the day, because it's, unless you want to work with really bright, harsh shadows creatively, it's not very flattering. So I'd stick to either end of the day.
Oh, amazing. So do you use like a digital camera, or are you still old school? Is there still old school people with like old films around?
It's hugely popular. I use film personally on like personal projects, but I use the digital DSLR. I'd like to use more film, but at the moment I'm comfortable with digital. I can see what I've taken straight away. I can show my client. I think that's really important. You're not like going like that, oh, I've got it. But I like to show people the photos as we go, because that helps them to understand, because sometimes you can't picture the framing, or you can't picture certain things. So I do digital, but I work with natural light. I'm not a fan of artificial light. I think it can be worked really beautifully in editorial type work, but for me, I'm so into things being kind of real and natural and authentic that it isn't. So I just need a nice window if we're indoors, and we're good to go.
So do you go to people, or do people come to you? How does it work? Because I mean, otherwise you're going to be location specific, aren't you?
I tend to travel. It's I would always suggest looking at, if it's branding, then I would suggest, is it of interest to you to have it captured in where you work? You know, if you've got a specific office or room, or because I work with artists often, you know, they have studios which lend themselves, because they're perfectly lit normally. They've got very good light. But also, you know, if it doesn't work for whatever reason, or you don't want to do that, that's why I would then suggest, well, have a second location, make it specific to you, and in that respect we can kind of go anywhere. If you don't like your home environment, you don't want that to be your working environment, if it just doesn't work, then we just need to find a good background nearby, but ideally somewhere that's specific to you, I think.
Yes, going back to that uniqueness and being authentically you.
And actually some people just need a quick headshot, for want of a better word, which isn't kind of what I tend to offer, but I sort of capture the portraits within the session, so there can be the headshot look, but then there's also walking shots, there's details, there's work, you at work, that sort of thing. So it's more storytelling than just here's one portrait.
Yeah. And so do you do a lot of editing then, or do you try and get it as natural as possible so that it doesn't really need editing?
Well, both, to be honest. I kind of work with I do like an edit, and actually I've realized this is something and I'm much quicker than I used to be, but I do like to go through each individual image and hand edit. I could outsource it, but it doesn't feel right to me. So I want to be kind of every part of the process, but I don't change colors. I keep colors the same. But yeah, I go in. I tend to shoot quite a lot so that we've got options. I quite like using burst mode because I want to capture real moments. I might talk, we might laugh, and it will be like, so you're like being tapped. But actually, that can give a really lovely like in between moment.
Yeah, so but also there's really terrible in between moments as well as your mouth's going like one way.
Yeah, I don't share those. It's fine. They go in the bin. But yeah, so there is some editing involved. I don't mind it. It's part of the job. But I prefer kind of being out shooting. But yeah.
Oh, amazing. And then do your clients get all of the photographs that you take, or just the kind of ones that you've agreed on? I'm just being nosy now. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's kind of it's up to you, really. I mean, I offer different packages, so you can choose a package with only a few images, and then you might see the rest of the gallery and think, I quite like to buy some more. You might choose a half-day shoot. I also offer a full-day shoot. So it's really depending on what need you have for your business, where you are in your journey. You might not need hundreds of images right now. You might just need a few. But I am going to be doing some mini sessions coming up. I'm still kind of finalizing location, but they would then be a bit swifter, and you just get kind of a few images from that. So
nice.
But I haven't quite worked out my location yet.
Bournemouth's a good place.
Yes, I've heard Bournemouth's good. Oh, I'd love to come down there. I love that beach.
Yeah, it's beautiful because it's like a proper sand beach, isn't it? Whereas a lot of the other ones are pebbles. Although pebbles, create their own texture in a way. But
have you got loads of like on the edge of the beach? You've got kind of woods and greenery and really near the beach, haven't you?
Yeah. So it's really close to get to trees and to get to beach. And then also we've got those beautiful different coloured beach huts as well, which is such a lovely backdrop as well. But so how can people find you, get in touch with you if they're interested in these mini sessions or a session with you or something like that?
They can go to my website, fill out the contact form. That's nickyallen.co.uk, or find me on Instagram. I am at Nicky Allen Photos. And if anyone is interested in booking from listening to this, how exciting, thank you. But I'm offering an hour's consultation as well for free if anyone books through having listened to me on here. So they just need to get in contact and say they heard me on this. Following your joy, and in that hour we can do whatever they want. It could be an audit of the current photography, or just plan the set, what's best for you, where you're at in your business, and how I can help you.
Brilliant. And I'll put all of those notes in the show notes anyway, so anybody can go back after they've listened to this and click on the little links. Now, you've been up to something exciting recently, haven't you? Because you shared with me that you were working with somebody who's been at is it the Chelsea Flower Show?
That's So I have. I've started working. Can't even speak. I started working with these lovely ladies, and I helped them with their website imagery last year. And they grow mushrooms for a living, and they encourage people to grow their own mushrooms. And they're a company called Cayley Brothers, and it was named after a family member. But basically, they are kind of demystifying the process of growing mushrooms, and no more of the sad ones you get in the supermarket, but actually taking ownership yourself. And so they sell kits, and it's incredible. You can grow them from little pot, the kit that comes with the bag, so it just sprouts from there. You can grow them off coffee, you can grow them off a pair of jeans, you can do some crazy stuff.
Oh my goodness.
And they were asked to do Chelsea last year, and they won a gold for that, which is amazing. But also they've just written a book, and I've done the photography for that, and that's due out on the 2nd of May this year by Quarto Publishing, and it's called Project Mushroom. So it's all the mushroom projects you can imagine in one book. So it is really exciting. I've seen the proof, and it looks absolutely lovely. So Yes.
Yeah. Also, mushrooms are like one of those superfoods, aren't they? I can't remember what we call them.
Yeah.
You know, the adaptogens. Yes.
Yeah.
So we and especially I think a lot of people listening to this are probably around a similar age to me, so maybe mid-40s. You know, like when we're heading into that kind of, we need adaptogens in our life as we start going through changes in our lives.
Lion's mane. We need lion's mane.
Everybody needs mushrooms in their life.
Yeah, it's true. And I think there's something I love everything about their whole attitude and the ethos, and actually I'm going to get really hippie now, but just that sort of realization that there's the sort of the connection with nature, that we're close to losing. And actually mycelium, which is what makes the mushroom, that's been around longer than anything else. So I get quite excited by it. And they produce kits that grow pink oyster mushrooms, yellow oyster mushrooms, big lion's manes, like,
oh my goodness,
incredible.
What an amazing project to be in as well. And then obviously you're going to be published in print, which is fabulous.
Very exciting. Yeah.
What are you going to do to celebrate when that book comes out?
Sure, I don't know, because at the moment I'm in I'm not even drinking alcohol at the moment. I found that actually when I knock that on the head, I just feel just a lot more kind of in the zone. So I'm in a period of, maybe I'll have a kombucha and go for a run or a sauna or something. Self-care.
Take yourself out for a nice meal, or have a nice bath with, like, I don't know, do something out of the ordinary or decadent, or
I think self-care actually does become the thing that feels like the reward. I used to use, I don't know, shopping or chocolate or wine or all these other things, and actually it feels way more rewarding to just give yourself permission for some self-care.
Self-care is one of the things that I get on my soapbox about. I just tell everybody all the time that, like, you basically need to do some self-care, because actually you can't provide for your family if you're not coming from a good space. It's like you said, all of those fridge magnet like cliches, like, it's right, you can't pour from an empty cup. You're so much better in yourself when you just give yourself time to just sit back and relax. And just those overwhelming moments of stress, I remember when I was in the corporate role and just feeling overwhelmed, and I wish I'd have had what I learned throughout my whole career. So I like that whole, like, just take 2 minutes and take 5 deep breaths, like, just go and put a dance music on and dance around and move your body and things like that. And that is self-care. It doesn't have to be going for a massage, and it doesn't have to be expensive either. Closing the door on your bathroom, having a bath. Do you know what? If you've got young children, having 5 minutes in the bathroom on the toilet, do you know what I mean? It's like self-care, just put some music on. But
and what I think is really interesting is when you lean into that self-care practice, it's all about celebrating that exact moment, isn't it? We're not bringing any story of anything else. We're going, no, this moment, because it's pure, and that's all it needs to be. And actually that's something that I realized when I had my period of kind of going, oh, I'm not sure what is this? Where's my confidence gone? And I was looking at Eckhart Tolle, his book, I don't know if you've read it, The New Earth, his latest one, and just kind of accepting his idea of there's three responses. You accept something as the way it is, or you're enthusiastic about it, or you enjoy it. And I realized if I just applied that all the time, everything just felt a lot easier. So if I can't be enthusiastic or enjoy something, then I just have to accept it, and it won't last forever. Just accept it and it will move on. And it took away so much of the, like, pain and the struggle, and because that's the story that I brought to the moment, whereas I think the reason why those baths and those moments for you feel so expansive and relaxing is because you are giving yourself permission to just do that one thing, aren't you?
It's just you in that moment enjoying it. You're not putting the dinner on, you're not juggling 5 different things, you're not, like, answering phone calls, trying to do social media posts and everything else. You're just literally like, and well, especially for me, because I leave all technology outside of the bathroom. It's an old school book, and that's it when I'm in the bath. And so for me, I'm just like, it's complete indulgence. And I also like to have a bath on, like, a midday afternoon.
Oh yes, daytime bath.
Like, absolutely. That feels so decadent and indulgent to me. It's just like, oh yeah, look at me. I enjoy this. I'm deserving this treat.
Absolutely. No, I'm similar. It feels like just skiving off school or something. I did something.
Yeah.
You're getting something extra by doing it in the day. Same as going to the cinema in the daytime. That's awesome as well. I love that. Ideally on my own. No one asking me for snacks.
Oh my goodness. Oh, well, do you know what? I'm so glad that you have managed to kind of overcome that confidence thing, and it's really interesting, and thank you for sharing, because so many people will, like, you know, look at people like yourself who are, you know, good in front of the camera, good behind the camera, you've been on stage and stuff, and they'll be like, oh, what's she got to worry about? But in actual fact, you know, you kind of had that confidence, you built it up, and then it kind of disappeared. And I think it does sometimes, you know, especially when people have children, and or you have changes in your life, or if you're not feeling 100% in one area, and then you know, like, to share that you've come through kind of the other side, and like you said, everything is kind of like just accept it, because it does get better, and it can change,
and change that thought. You know, you can learn to stop the thought, or give it an upgrade and change it and flip, you know, rewrite the thought, rewrite the story. Because I think I spent a lot of time going, oh, I've failed as an actor, what can I do now? I'm failing. And it's taken me so long to realize that failure is just information. You know, you can just learn from that. All the things that you put down to failure, you know, we should change the language, but also start to see it as, actually, no, there's something to learn from it, that, you know, without it being woo-woo and, oh, it's meant to be. No, there's something in it. You know, you can move on from it once you see what it was that you could have learned from it, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And I say it all the time, if it's not working for you, it's a lesson for you. And failure literally just means first attempt in learning, FAIL. So it's and it's just like, you know, we all have to do something for the first time once, and it's like you're talking about confidence, but confidence doesn't actually come from like being able to do it. Everybody's terrified. First of all, you've got to have courage to step into the unknown and do something for the first time. Remember when you first learned to drive and you got in that car and you were thinking, how the heck am I gonna, you know, maneuver like 2 pedals and gears and listen to what's going on and look everywhere? And now you're probably driving with your eyes closed almost, or hopefully you're not driving with your eyes closed. So you kind of got to step into that courage, and then that courage then kind of becomes like a little bit like of consistent just doing it, and then the confidence comes, because then your body goes, oh, I've done this loads of times now, I know that I can do this. And then sometimes you've got to fake it a little bit before you make it, but like, I mean, that's exactly why you're doing what you're doing in your photography, isn't it? You know, you're helping people find that confidence within inside themselves, which is awesome.
Taking the action has to come first, doesn't it? And we can sit and wait to feel like it's the right time. And even with when I've done family shoots, you know, particularly when their kids are young, you know, it's like, oh, I don't want to be seen this way, or the house is messy, or, you know, there's all these things again that we sort of put up as an excuse. And actually sometimes you just need to do it, and then you start to feel better about everything afterwards, don't you?
But like you said, capture that moment in time, though. If your house is messy, house is messy because you've got, I don't know, 3 kids, or you've got a busy life or whatever, you know, embrace it. Because actually when you are 70, you probably like to look back and be like, wow, my house was a busy house. You know, if you then become an empty nester and your kids have all flown home, if you're living on your own, or whatever it is that you look like in your future, you know, you might look back and be like, oh, do you know what? I remember those times where there was noise all the time and I couldn't get a moment peace, and there was toys everywhere and stuff. That's a beautiful moment in time that you might reflect back on at some point. So
and I hope people who are listening could maybe even draw parallels with if it's in business as well, because there's this thing, I think, at the moment where we don't want to share the journey necessarily. We don't want to let people know if we're new to something, and we're kind of pretending, and you do fake it till you make it to a certain extent, but actually having the where you are now captured, and then, you know, it's somewhere to look back on, and this is worth celebrating. You've got to hear everything you've gone through has got you right here, and that in itself is a celebration, I think.
It's also future marketing, isn't it? You know, in 7 years' time, you'll be like, this is where I started. This is how I started. You can start there too. So
Very
good. Amazing. Nicky, you've been awesome. Right, I'm going to try and do a recap, because there's been so many good things. I'm going to try and do pull out the things that I want people to kind of the takeaways. All right, so we're ready for this. So we need to kind of try and find the fun that we had, or the joy that we had as a child, whatever that is. Try and tap into it, and give yourself just permission to just try it and be it and do it. Free writing and journaling is always a good way of getting like free thoughts therapy out, and maybe yes, exactly. It's free therapy. Kitchen discos are a must if you need to move the body.
Yeah.
Just kind of be in the present moment. And when we came on to obviously the camera work, you're like, don't look at the camera, which is awesome. And again, be in the present moment with that.
Yeah.
Natural light is great.
Yeah.
Sometimes like not sunshine, but the grey light, morning and evenings, or like kind of sunrise, sunset kind of time. And self-care is uber important. Yeah. And then obviously, as Nicky said, she's taken the photographs for the book Project Mushroom, which comes out on the 2nd of May by Quarto Publishing. So definitely have a look at that. I think I'll definitely be checking out that 100%. Yeah. And Nicky has graciously offered like a 1 hour free consulting for you. So just say that you heard her on Following the Joy podcast, and obviously all of her links will be in the show notes. So Nicky, thank you ever so much for spending time with me today. It's been absolutely lovely talking to you, and I really, really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you for having me on. And
Not
give me a shout when I can come down and see you in Bournemouth.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
Thanks for listening today. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. And as always, any links or anything mentioned will be in the show notes. If you haven't connected with me yet, I'd love to meet you. So come find me on Instagram at Debbie Westwell. Why not slide into my DMs and tell me what you thought of this episode? And if you like what you hear, then please follow me or hit the bell icon, share with somebody like you who would benefit from listening, and all positive reviews are greatly appreciated. Thank you for being your wonderful self, and I can't wait to chat next time.